Hello, what's going on? Hope you're having a good evening so far. We are doing Chaos Head Noah tonight. So last time, I played this, Takumi walked back to his home with Rimi, and Rimi was just Rimi noticed that Takumi was getting a lot of attention from the girls at the school lately. Although unbeknownst to Rimi, this wasn't necessarily attention that Takumi really wanted, because two of the girls there are simply just kind of giving him information about the D-sword and like the nature of reality and delusions and that kind of thing. And then another one of the girls is like actually trying to basically accuse him of being the NewGen murderer. And then we had a scene where the detective Bond was consulting a woman at some company, I guess, that kind of... I'm not exactly sure what kind of a company they are, but I guess they just kind of... I guess they specialize in just like gathering lots of information about the world, I guess, because like Bond was going to her for advice on like how he should approach trying to figure out who the NewGen killer is, and she's the one who told him about this whole thing with the GE rate and the hanging the clock thing and how it swings like a pendulum. Basically, it's like something that has to do with the magnetic field of the Earth, and they think that the GE rate, if it's high enough, can like make people like more energetic, I guess, and it might like even make them do strange things like commit crimes and stuff. And so Bond seems to be trying to take this rather unusual route to investigating the NewGen murders. So yeah, I think we left off right after that, after he consulted that woman at the company. So I couldn't really ask Rimi to come to the base over the weekend, so I spent 2 days alone and afraid. On Friday, Rimi had bought me enough food that I was able to spend the weekend entirely indoors, but I was still afraid enough that several times I almost sent her an email asking her to come over. In the end, I didn't, though. The only time I was released from my fear was the 30 minutes when I was watching the latest episode of Bloodtoon. Even with all that was happening, I refused to give up Bloodtoon. If Remy was my pillar of support in the 3D world, then my 2D support was Bloodtune, or more specifically, Seraton. Then the Monday after I survived the weekend, I looked at the Phantasm community on Freypara and saw that something was going on. I quickly clicked on a link that sent me to @channel. The place was in an uproar. Oh boy, okay. Anonymous Prophet. The real name of Phantasm's Fess is Kishimoto. She spent time in a mental institution when she was a kid. The hospital's name is AHM. Phantasm is finished. Okay, so I guess Fess is getting doxxed, kind of. Alright, I guess everybody is just named Anonymous Prophet on here. Whatever, buddy. KWSK. Whose eyes are those? LOL. What's a Fess? MJD? Okay. We'll have to see. I always have to wind up. Crap, it doesn't even let you. Okay, that's dumb. But yeah, what was it? KW. Whatever. Not that. Wait. KT. Hold on. Wait, hold on. Go back. Crap. I lost it now. Oh well. Let's just see what MJD means. Maji Day, or really seriously? Okay. AHM is an institution for real crazies. Another hater. Your trolling skills suck. If you're gonna post a thread, you need a source. You're lying. Fess was never in a mental hospital. You should feel ashamed for slandering somebody like that. I've never even heard of AHM. Screw you. The one watching you was me, Fess. Pound in the steak. Pound in the steak. Pound it straight into their lying mouths. One of you haters is going to be the next NewGen victim. One is legit. Fess was hospitalized for a long time due to mental issues. The hospital put out a newsletter with pictures, poems, and essays from their patients. You can see a bunch of poems she wrote in it. You can see one on the official site, too. Her real name is say Kishimoto. AHM equals Arc Medical Group. Bruh. Should I try going to this website? Even if this website actually, like, existed at one point just for the sake of, just for this game, it probably doesn't at this point because this game came out so long ago. Yeah, there's no archeart-m.com. That is, I know I could see if it's in a web archive, but let me just web.archive.org. Wayback Machine. Let's just put it in there just to see. www.archeart-m.com. says there's a couple hits from 2018. Let's see. November 10th, 2018 is the last snapshot. Let's see what comes up. Nothing? Just a blank screen? Okay, well, probably be easier if I looked it up on my desktop, so let's go ahead and do a little research here. Alright. web.archive.org. Alright, I will show y'all what I'm looking at here. Let me switch over to this real quick. Okay. So what was it? www.archive-m.com, right? Okay. So this is the last snapshot it took, and it's literally just a blank page apparently. So let's go back to 2017 and see. Well, okay, I'm sorry, that's yeah, okay, now we're in oh, it just says coming soon. Okay. May 15th, 2017, coming soon. Okay, now we're gonna skip back 3 years to 2014. Got HTTP 302. The web page is not available. Bro. Okay, hold on. Go back. Okay. Let me do this. Go back to the thing here. Okay, let's go back. I guess we'll do like... Oh, shit. Still... Okay. Let's try this one. Dang, it just keeps... Okay. 2011. Of course, this game came out in 2008, so yeah, looks like that's when the first things came out here. Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay. And of course, it's all in Japanese. This is all like images, right? So I wouldn't be able to... Okay, let's just go back to the earliest snapshot of this. Yep, it's still... Okay. So they left it up for a few years, and it's been gone for quite a while now. It looks like only one of these actually has a link here. It's in Japanese. Let's just click on this and see. Anything? This. Oh, I wonder if... Might just be that it's not... Didn't capture the... That's weird. Just pick a random... Okay, there's like this... There's something on the page, but it's blank, so... I don't know. I don't know if it just didn't capture, like, the images... Or what the deal is with this. Doesn't look like you can really get much out of this, though. Okay, well, never mind then. Just go back to the game, I guess. Alright. Yes. I thought you guys were in love with her? Fewer rivals for me then, I guess. Yes. LOLOL, what? It's real? Yes, yes, yes. Fueling the fire, one. There's even a goddamn photo, LOLOL. Announcement, Phantasm is splitting up. So is Phantasm finished? I really liked Fess in a sexual way. Yes. This must be an expression of the Great Will's guidance too, right? 12. Those lyrics aren't in a Phantasm song, are they? The one watching you was me, Ayase Kishimoto. Fess, please don't quit. I'm crying here. I kinda get it. Every genius is supposed to be a little crazy, right? Fess is gonna break up. I know it. KTKR. We hold the Black Mass tonight. Okay, and... oh, there's the Quisk. Yeah, give me the details. Okay. I think that's what I was looking for earlier. But yeah, KTKR it's here. LOLI Feston. Pant. I guess Phantasm's finished, though. Honestly, I think it's a better ending for them than signing with a major label and selling out. Any official comment from Fess yet? You Atchan virgins can bitch online all you want and it won't change a thing. Fess doesn't look at the past, only the future. The next prophecy of death is gonna be about you losers, LOL. Wait, what's the issue with this exactly? 9/11, there's the person inside. That's you, isn't it, Fess? You're desperate to keep your band running. We all knew Fess was crazy to begin with. Who cares? Fess has mental problems, huh? Honestly, I think that just makes her hotter. Calm down, guys. This is all just a big troll by Feston. I bet Fess went crazy because the world is filled with evil. That power awakened her punk soul. Her aggressive, intense lyrics are a cry from her soul, which has ascended to a higher dimension. If anything, we should be grateful to 12 for giving us this deeper understanding of her origins. Official sites down. I went to the URL that 12 had posted. Oh, yeah, there it is. This is that same picture we saw. Yeah. Okay, I think, did we click on, which was the link that actually worked? Was it the Children's Creativity Exhibition? It was one of these two. It was either the Access or the Children's Creativity Exhibition. Anyway. We do yearly calendar, dormant. Facility tours. Guides children towards a better life with strong leadership. Facilities. Arkhart Medical Association was a long-established psychiatric facility that only treated the most severe patients. There was a picture of the hospital on the site, and it showed bars on the windows. It looked like an old prison. I wasn't sure if it even existed anymore. The homepage hadn't been updated for almost 4 years. But just like Atchan had said, the site had a picture of a young Ayase Kishimoto, along with a poem she'd written.
綾瀬が精神病。
I wasn't really shocked or anything. I'd gone to a mental hospital when I was in elementary school, too. If anything, it made me feel a little closer to her. She was just like me. Despite all her popularity, despite all her charisma, she was just like me. Having this in common made the idea that I had the same power she did, the power to project delusions into reality, feel more likely. It gave me courage and hope. But there was one problem. Until now, I blindly believed everything she'd said, but maybe that was a mistake. What she'd said about how to get a D-sword, even the fact that getting a D-sword would be what saved me. I started to doubt not what she'd showed me, but what she'd told me. Should I believe it, or... I started in fright as my phone suddenly rang. Phones always loved to surprise you when you were least expecting it. That's why I hated them. I sighed and picked it up. It was probably Nanami. She was probably calling to complain about something again. What a nuisance. I hit the accept call button and put the phone up to my ear without bothering to look at the number. Why did I do that? Why was this the one call where I didn't look at the number first? This shit again. The melody coming out of the phone at an impossibly loud volume was Touriance. I quickly looked at the number on the phone's LCD display. It was the same number. But how? I thought it wasn't in service anymore. I'd had Nanami call it and there'd been a message saying so. Had the person behind this prank brought it back online?
どうしよう。
I looked around the room. If Rimi was here, she could give me some advice. But she wasn't. Of course not. Rimi was at school right now. I'd told her I wasn't going today, and she hadn't come to wake me up. The melody kept playing as I sat there freaking out. A whole minute had passed. When I'd had it up to my ear a moment ago, I could hear other faint sounds besides Toriance. The sound of people walking, of car engines, so it had to be outside. Who was on the phone? I could only think of one person who'd pull a prank like this. Shogun. I turned to Seiraton, who was standing next to my PC monitor, for help.
どうしたらいいと思う、セイラ。
Seiraton smiled the way she always did.
切っちゃえばいいさ。無視無視。
そっか。そうだよね。その手があった。
I should have done that right from the start. I put my thumb to the end call button, but for some reason... I decided to listen to the Toriance melody just a little more before I hung up. It felt so strange. I wanted to hang up right now, but almost unconsciously, I put the hand with the phone up to my ear. It came in a flood from the receiver. An incredible pain. A violent sound like a supersonic wave. The sound infected my body. My head felt an impact like it had been struck by lightning. My whole body froze. I screamed, but I couldn't even hear my own voice. I boiled over. My brain, my heart, they boiled and bubbled and started to melt. The pain tore through my body, ripping through my flesh. My mind turned to liquid and raced through my body, converging at my heart and exploding into a fine mist. It felt horrible, crazy. I couldn't even think about what had just happened to me. Okay, I'll be back here in a couple minutes. Alright, I'm back. When Yua Kusunoki opened her eyes, she could tell that all hell had broken loose in class 3B, her class. Several of the students were lying on the ground. Their eyes had rolled back into their heads. They were foaming at the mouth, spasming and jerking. Several of the others were curled up into little balls, clutching their heads in pain. The rest were standing up, one after another, and leaving the room, even though it was the middle of class. The teacher was too busy helping the ones who were having seizures to stop them. The students in the hallway were all yelling in shock, but Yua didn't hear what they were saying. Her phone had been going off inside her skirt pocket. She finally realized it was buzzing and slowly reached a hand toward it. She tried to stand up, but she staggered and fell from her chair. She crouched and leaned up against the wall. After putting her glasses back up against her face, she pressed the answer call button and put the phone to her ear.
はい。あ、はい。はあ。はい。あ、一応大丈夫です。
She winced after she said that, then put a hand to her forehead. She could hear the voices of her classmates talking noisily outside, and her teacher shouting at the fallen students to wake up, but all of this seemed to be happening very far away.
はい。ええ。あなたは。はい。はい。そうですか。それで。
Her face suddenly turned pale as she gulped. She covered the phone with her hand and dropped her voice low. It was clear from her tone that whatever she'd heard had rattled her.
そんなわけないんです。だって、本当は。
She stopped and let her hood droop.
本当は私だったのに。
The noise outside grew louder. Everyone was looking in the same direction, pointing fingers with fearful expressions on their faces. The windows in the hallways were rattling like they'd been hit by a gust of wind.
はい。そうです。私の妹です。はい。わかりました。
She bowed weakly, as if the person she was talking to was right in front of her, and hung up the phone. Then she looked up and toward the direction everyone was pointing.
空が。
It was like someone had poured white paint on a pool of water's surface. The muddied blue of the sky was turning white. It was spreading at incredible speed. It was devouring the sky.
白く染まっていく。
Okay, well, we have finally reached chapter 6. Damn. That chapter 5 seemed to go on forever. Alright. Wow. Wonder what the hell that was all about. Too bad they made us wait to find out what happened. Yasuji Ban was finally released from the long task force meeting and should have felt much better. But today, things were different. He walked away from the other detectives and towards the windowsill where he called his junior partner. Suwa hadn't shown up for the meeting today. Bon had wanted to skip it too, so it didn't seem fair that Suwa got to. Suwa might not look like it, but he took his work extremely seriously. At least, that's what Bon had thought. So, he was surprised when Suwa skipped today. He tried to get a hold of him several times and there'd been no answer. Ever since Bon had talked to Momose 2 days ago, he'd had a bad feeling that wouldn't go away. And things had gone even worse today. Not only was Suwa missing, when he'd brought up the GE rate during the meeting, Matsunaga had told him he was being ridiculous and needed to stop wasting everyone's time. Please don't let anything else happen. Bon sighed a little as he fanned his face. He heard the call being picked up and Suwa answered. The connection was really bad. Bon wondered if Suwa had gone off somewhere deep in the countryside. Bon yelled. He stopped being able to hear Suwa at all, and instead there was a small period of nothing but static. Suwa shouldn't have been going off on his own. But Bon had a nasty habit of doing just that, he chuckled. Maybe his bad habits had rubbed off on his junior partner. Bon's eyes went wide. Suddenly, the ground started to shake. The shaking got more and more violent. Bon couldn't even stay standing. He dropped to a crouch to keep from falling over. At first, the other detectives seemed unconcerned, but they soon realized the seriousness of the situation and began to crouch or hide under tables. The clock on the wall, the pens and paper cups on the table, the projector device, one after another, they fell to the floor with a crash. The 2 whiteboards in the conference room fell too. It was like a passenger jet that ran into a stream of turbulence. That's how it felt to Bon, like his legs weren't even touching the ground. The shaking was spinning his body left to right. It was probably a 5 or a 6 in intensity. Is this the next big one? And now, of all times. Then Bon felt a strong shock, like someone punched him in the head. He moaned in pain. No one had physically punched him. It was just an incredible headache. Suddenly a scream filled the conference room. Bon gritted his teeth and looked up, and saw one of the local detectives had his hands pressed up against his head, trembling with pain. Then he fell helplessly to the ground, like a doll dropped by a child. Most of the other detectives were either wincing in pain, their heads against their temples, or holding their heads. What was this headache? He'd never felt anything like it before. Did it have something to do with the earthquake? Bon had no way of knowing. Little by little, the shaking stopped. Bon looked outside, vision blurry. There was white light everywhere. It was so bright, Bon couldn't keep his eyes open. Bro. I opened my eyes, feeling a pain so strong I thought my head would burst. I realized I'd fallen backwards into the middle of the room. I tried to get up, but when I did, the pain in my head spread throughout the rest of my body. I moaned in agony. After 5 minutes or so of writhing on the floor, the pain gradually subsided. I managed to use the bedpost as a support to climb back up. I wiped away the thick sweat on my brow. My room looked like it had been hit by a tornado. All of my wives had either toppled over or fallen off their shelf entirely. The bed was now tilted, and my manga and H-game boxes had fallen off it and scattered onto the floor. What had just happened? I'd picked up the phone and then heard Toriance, and then it had turned into what sounded like an ambulance siren. Okay, that's the same thing that happened on the first call that he had that of this nature. Mm. That's right. There'd been that buzzer sound, and then the low sound of the earth rumbling, and then it felt like my whole body had boiled and melted. Hello, Cat. How you doing? I didn't remember anything that happened after that. My mind was a total blank. Was this some kind of electromagnetic wave attack by Shogun? Maybe Shogun could do the same thing as that system I'd read about in the patent. The idea terrified me. I looked up at the ceiling, still reeling from my headache. Of course, there was nothing to see. If my mind was being read, it was being read by a satellite high above me. I'm doing pretty good.
いくらなんでもそんなはずないよ。
This visual novel's getting pretty interesting. But from what Senna had said before, it sounded like the system in the patent was already in use, and some people were using it for evil. If one of those people was Shogun, no, that was impossible. There was no way that could be true. This is Chaos Head Noah. It's a visual novel. Pretty popular visual novel. Kind of in the same series of visual novels that Steins Gate is from. That frail old man looked like he could die at any moment. There's no way he could have his own orbital satellite. Or was he at the center of some big government project? There was no point in starting a delusion and scaring myself to death with it. It was clear something had happened, so I decided to look online to find out what. I crawled toward the computer, trying my best to ignore the pain in my head. Bro, if everything is like knocked over like this, I would think the computer's probably fucked.
あれ
I was sure I'd left my computer on. It should have been displaying the Seraton screensaver, but instead the screen was black. I hadn't set it to go into standby mode automatically, so that shouldn't happen, but my mind was still foggy. My whole body felt frail and weak. It took all my strength just to stand up. I grit my teeth to help with the pain and tried to move the mouse. Nothing. Next, I tried the power button. The hard disk started to whir and click. I slumped into my computer chair with a thud. While I waited for my computer to boot up, I reached out a desperate hand for my phone, which was still lying on the table. I looked at the time.
13時
Shit. What time had it been when I got that call? I remembered I was looking at information on Ayase on Atchan. I tried to think, and the pain just got worse. What time? Think. Remember. That's right, it wasn't even noon yet. Which meant...
1時間以上も気絶してた。
Or had I been sleepwalking and been off wandering somewhere for the past hour? You're lost? Is this your first time seeing me stream this?
僕は無遊病じゃない。
I shook my head before my brain could fill itself with more negative thoughts. When I did, the aching in my head made me feel like I would pass out. It was like my brain had been replaced by a lump of lead. Okay. So you've seen this before. So what do you mean you're lost? Like what are you not understanding something? I looked over at the PC monitor.
おい、マジで
Uh, looks like it's not the blue screen of death in this game, but the red screen of death. Oh, no, you haven't seen it. Well, this is a visual novel, so if you're not familiar with visual novels, they're basically just like, they're kind of like games, but you're really just kind of reading a story, basically. And then, like, sometimes you'll have, like, choices, and then depending on what choice you make, it can, like, give you a different branch of the story or whatever. Could it be my hard disk was damaged?
嘘だ。そんなのありえない。あっちゃダメだ。そんなことになったらすべてが終わる。
My gigabytes of saved XXX Moe porn. My save data for my H games. My bookmarks for my daily browsing. Oh, your dad played one? Interesting. Do you know which one it was, by chance? How old is your dad, by the way? I'm just curious. My schedule that told me when to go to school. And more than anything, the most important thing in the world to me. My ESO save data. Was it all gone?
くそ。
I wanted to scream in rage. I wanted to pound my fists into the keyboard. I wanted to kick in the walls. And more than anything, I wanted to see if it could be recovered right this very instant. Oh, wow, you're okay. Damn. Well, never mind then. I was thinking your dad would be younger than that. Your dad is 57, but you are 10? God, that is just, wow. Damn. And this is like your biological dad, right? You're not like your adopted dad or anything. But my whole body was still heavy and slow, and my head still ached. All I could do was lie back in my chair and bite my lip. It was over. Okay, well, interesting. Guess your dad is old, having kids when he's still old then. Or, yeah, anyway. The loss of my ESO save data meant my life no longer had any meaning. Nothing mattered anymore. My life was nothing but ash and dust. Somebody just kill me.
待ってタッキー
Sarah looked up from where she was lying sideways on my desk and gave me an angelic smile.
冷静になりなよ。円数みたいなオンラインのゲームってセーブデータは全部サーバーに保存されてるんじゃない？
Server? Did she mean the game company's server?
だからたとえタッキーの PC が壊れてもナイトハルトッチのデータは消えてないはずっしょ。
Oh, right. This was something every gamer knew, but I was so out of it that I'd forgotten. I felt like I'd found one small sliver of hope amidst the despair. Way to go, my wife. I hadn't made any backups of my Pixar MP3s, so I'd have to give up on those. It wasn't ideal, but I didn't have a choice. I still wanted to start reformatting my computer as soon as possible. I needed to see if my ESO data was safe with my own eyes. Of course, for that, I'd need this headache to go away. The pain didn't feel like it was going away anytime soon. You call your dad Grandpa? Alright. Are they using the Richter scale? I mean, I think the Richter scale is like universal, isn't it? Like every country uses that. I don't think Japan uses a different scale to measure the magnitude of earthquakes from the scale we use, I don't think. So yeah, I wouldn't think a 5 magnitude earthquake would kill 200 people. But the big televisions outside Shibuya Station usually played commercials or promos for famous music artists. Today, however, they were showing a stern-looking newscaster. It was a TV show with the following text at the top of the screen. Yeah. Not today. Well, remember, I tend to get more viewers when I'm streaming on the PlayStation, and right now I'm not streaming on my PlayStation, so yeah. Plus, nobody, like, excuse me, Zane and, Ox hasn't come, so, yeah. Intensity 5 earthquake hits Shibuya. At least 200 casualties. Earthquakes were nothing special in Japan. There'd been several earthquakes around a 5 on the scale, even around Tokyo. But as more information started to come in, it became apparent that the number of casualties was abnormally high. There was a similar earthquake in 2005, and not a single person died. Compared to that, this was almost unbelievable. What do I stream on PC? I stream, obviously, this visual novel. I stream Genshin Impact on PC. Excuse me. Anything that I play on VR, I'm stream on the PC. So. This was even more true when you considered that it had happened in Shibuya, the center of the NewGen murders. There'd been an earthquake 3 months ago in Shibuya too. That one had only been a 3 on the scale, but 8 people had died. Was Shibuya cursed? Many of the people who saw the first reports of the quake thought that, even if they didn't say it. But either way, the first special broadcasts about the earthquake were ready to go almost as soon as it started. Well, maybe this has something to do with that GE rate thing that woman was talking about. I guess, I don't know, can I don't know. Maybe whenever they have an earthquake, it unleashes some kind of Takumi was saying, some kind of electromagnetic attack or something. A wave. Right now, there wasn't a lot of solid information or clear numbers, but the female newscaster was reading out a script. The Fire and Disaster Management Agency has confirmed at least 31 deaths, and is expecting that number to grow even higher. The cause of the deaths is currently unknown. There were also reports of a mysterious white light in Shibuya after the earthquake, a shock wave, and the sky turning white. The cameras at Shibuya Scramble Crossing had seen the light, and the big TVs were showing the footage they'd taken where everything had turned white just after the quake. So I think Takumi missed the whole white light thing because I guess he was knocked out during that entire event. The white had appeared just as the earthquake did, and at first it was less a white and more of an incredibly intense light. Okay. The light covered Shibuya in an instant, and was so bright that no one could keep their eyes open. Anyone from the generation that lived through the last war would have immediately thought it was a nuclear weapon. In fact, there were those who'd seen a white mushroom cloud rising hundreds of meters in the sky above Shibuya, but it had dissipated almost instantly. What the light was, what caused it, and what it had to do with the earthquake were, for the moment, total mysteries. The strangest thing was that the white sky had gone back to normal within an hour, and once more a murky blue color lay above the heads of the people of Shibuya. There was a tiny crack, just a few millimeters, in the asphalt around Dogenzaka Hill. There were also small cracks in the walls at some of the mixed-use buildings around Center Street. My headache hadn't gone away. It took around 2 hours to reformat the hard drive. I'd almost passed out several times from the pain. I'd gone to sleep in the middle of something before, but this was my first time really passing out from something. Still, the pain was a lot better than it was 2 hours ago. I drank some soda to quench my thirst and steeled myself to get to work. I put the bed back where it was, giving myself a place to stand on the floor. It was hard considering how weak I was, but if I didn't clean it up, I wouldn't even be able to leave the place. If I was trapped inside and unable to escape during Shogun's next attack, not that I knew for sure if the earthquake was his doing, I'd be doomed. I needed a way to get out. When my OS was finally back, I headed over to my computer and installed ESO. I tried logging into Basilard.
やった。やった。ナイトハルトは消えてない。装備とかも全部無事だ。よかった。よかった。
I was so excited that I tried to stand up and raise my fist in the air, but I was too exhausted. Still, I was so happy to see that such an important part of me hadn't disappeared after all. Now then, with that done, it was time to see what had actually happened. Personally, I wanted an apology and compensation from whoever was responsible. It felt like an earthquake, but there were so many things that didn't make sense. I looked to see if Grimm was playing, but he wasn't. I went to our usual chat room, though it was harder with my bookmarks gone, and he wasn't there either. What good was he if he wasn't here when I needed him? I ended up checking the top page of Taboo instead. The article read, Shibuya casualties over 200? Welcome back, Kat. There had been an earthquake from the look of it. It was a 5 on the scale. There were an awful lot of casualties, though. Supposedly, the number was likely to go even higher than 200. There was other stuff, too, about how the sky above Shibuya had temporarily turned white, or a big mushroom cloud above the city, but nobody seemed sure about what they had to do with the earthquake. And Atchan was talking about it, too. Most comments were things like, Shibuya again? Or, Shibuya's screwed. There were videos uploaded, too, and I could see what the cameras in Scramble Crossing had recorded.
これ、地震だけじゃないよね。
I'd felt an incredible headache when the quake hit. No, it was way worse than just a headache. It felt like my brain was boiling over. And even 2 hours later, there was still an aching pain, and I still felt exhausted.
電子レンジに閉じ込められたら、あんな風になるかもしれない。
If that was the case, maybe my ideas about this being some kind of electromagnetic wave attack from Shogun weren't just delusions. I wonder if it's like the whole like, well, I don't know. Trying to think. I mean, I guess it would just be something like he had delusions about an earthquake striking Shibuya, and then somehow the phone call that he answered was somehow used as a device to kind of turn his brain delusions into reality, kind of like what he was talking about with the patents. Then I heard a noise I recognized from my PC. It was the sound of somebody joining the chat room. It might have been Grim. I turned my eyes towards the chat window to ask him the details. A scream slipped from my lips. Why would he show up now? Had he been reading my thoughts after all? My hand was shaking on my mouse. The rest of my body had frozen with fear. Even the pain in my head was gone. I didn't even want to look at the word Shogun, but I couldn't take my eyes off the monitor. I wanted to leave the chat room, but it was like my mind had left my body. I couldn't even move the mouse. I felt the prickling on my neck. I was being watched again. It was the gaze of God. Or maybe it wasn't God, but Shogun, looking at me from satellite orbit? I wanted to run away. But where? He could find me anywhere in Japan. Shogun, hey, it's been a while. That was the first thing he said. He was talking like he was greeting an old friend. But I never remembered being his friend. You want to create an account with the name Shogun? You should do it, dude. I mean, not that... I mean, well, I don't know. This... Wait, hold on a sec. Let me see. This game came out... Well, the localization, I should say, came out... When? Like, about a year ago, I think? I'll double check, but... I think it... Let me see. Go to the store page. Should say there. Yeah, it's been a little over a year. Came out on October 7th, 2022. Yeah, I know the visual novel originally came out in like 2008, but I'm talking about just this particular localization. So, I'm just trying to figure how many people would be streaming it at this point. I mean, since it's already been over a year, probably not too many. I bit my lip and stared at the characters on the screen. But after he spoke, I found myself able to move again. I grabbed my phone. It was just past 3 p.m. She might still be in class, but Remy might be able to help me. Believing that was my only choice, I called Remy's number. It was easy to find because it was one of only a few in my contacts.
助けて、リミ。リミ、早く。出て。
Shogun, do you hate me? It hurt to breathe. I couldn't think. Rimi wasn't picking up. The phone kept ringing and ringing. Why? Don't you always show up when I'm in trouble? Why aren't you here now? Shogun, I'm sending you a present. A present? You're sending me another one of those pictures? And this time, you're gonna make me out to be the NewGen killer, aren't you? No, I'm not the killer. I felt like a fish that had flopped onto the land. I wasn't getting enough oxygen. My head felt like it was full of fuzz. My only hope was Rimi. I gripped the phone tighter, praying and focusing on every sound that came out of the receiver. It picked up.
助けて。
留守番電話サービスにおつなぎします。
Welp. Shogun, I hope you like it. Voicemail? Oh no. Now, it's been a while since we got one of these delusions. Oh wait. Yeah, let me overwrite this one here. Okay. I hung up the phone, disappointed. I wrapped my arms around myself to keep steady. My body had started to shake. I was more afraid of Shogun than I thought I was. Of course I was. He was pretending to be disabled, but he... excuse me. But he was a murderer who'd killed people 5 times. And I was his next target.
助けてよ。
Until now, Rimi would always appear at just the right time, but she hadn't picked up the phone. My eyes fell on the fake D-sword in the corner of the room. I picked it up, clinging to the small hope that it might somehow help. It was just a toy. Ayase had said so, and she'd been sure. But maybe she was wrong. At least, I wanted to hope so. If I had a D-sword, I'd be saved. I could even defeat Shogun's attacks. So, please. I raised the D-sword. I focused on the cutting edge of the blade. Please, be real. Save me!
ディソード、真の姿を現せ。
I closed my eyes tight and gripped the pommel hard. Silence. I opened my eyes a little. Okay. I understand, Kat. I was actually kind of thinking about that a little earlier. Like, I don't know if a 10-year-old should be watching this. Honestly. I mean, I don't know. It's not really... I'm not even really sure if it's so much like the horror. It's more like there's actually like quite a bit of gore in this visual novel, so yeah. Although then again, I mean, God of War has quite a bit of gore in it as well, so I think either way, the game is not going to be suitable for for someone your age, Cat. Okay, well. Nothing had changed. It was just a toy. Oh, you watched your dad play God of War? Alright. Alright, well, I'll see you some other time, Cat. I slammed the toy sword into the ground and began to pace around the room. I bit my nails trying to figure out what to do, but the fear threatened to crush me, and I couldn't think. Whenever I tried, the pain in my head would come back. There was nothing left to do but go back to the PC. Shogun had already left the chat. The only traces of him were the 4 lines he'd left. I didn't even want to see the words he'd written, so I quickly left the chat room myself. I was still shaking. Shogun was taunting me. What was so fun about stalking me like this? Did this mean that I'd been chosen as the next victim, and Shogun was finally ready to put his plan into action? Or that I was the perfect patsy to take the fall for his murders?
誰か助けて、助けてよ。
I looked to post-awakening Seireton, pleading for her to save me.
一人は怖いんだ。
I didn't want to be alone. I wanted somebody to be by my side. I wanted somebody to protect me.
そうだ、学校だ。学校へ行けば。
Rimi was there. I couldn't handle being alone and scared anymore. I stripped off the sweatshirt I always wore when I was at home, quickly changed into my uniform, and left the base. The cold wind outside made my headache feel a little better. Shibuya seemed more tense than usual. Maybe it was the earthquake. I could hear the sounds of sirens in the distance. When one stopped, another started. I couldn't tell if they were fire trucks or ambulances. Probably both. Yamate Street, just one street over from where I was walking, was at a standstill. Several cars had been in head-on collisions and abandoned where they sat. There was no sign of the drivers. The abandoned cars were blocking the road and causing a traffic jam. The other drivers were furiously banging on their horns. As I slowly and unsteadily walked toward the school, a dog ran past me, howling. It was a chihuahua with bloodshot eyes. Its tiny body was running at full speed, dragging a leash behind it. Drool was pouring from its open mouth. Had it got separated from its owner? As I watched it distractedly, I stumbled over something and almost fell. There was a crack in the ground. That's what I'd tripped on. Did the earthquake cause it? I stopped and looked up at the sky. There were several clouds now, lazily traveling through the muddy blue sky. Supposedly the sky had gone white, like an aurora right after the quake, but there were no traces left of that now. This wasn't the Shibuya I knew. I felt really tense and uneasy. It wasn't just the earthquake. It wasn't just the headache. It wasn't just those things. It felt like a terrible urge was going to overcome me at any second. Just walking down the street, for some reason, made me want to kill someone. Bro. What the fuck? By the time I reached the school gate, the terror and fear within me had grown even stronger. I felt so cold that my body wouldn't stop shaking. My headache had come back. I could see a crowd near the third-year students' building. I looked for Remy there. Strangely, they were all looking up at the school building. Misumi ran up to me. Good, I could ask him where Remy was. He looked pale, and his expression was deadly serious. It was rare to see Misumi so badly shaken. What had happened? Bad? What was bad?
病気だったんだろ。精神病のことがバレて余計におかしくなっちゃったらしいぜ。さっき飛べるとか言ってたぜ。やべえよ、やばすぎる。俺、人が死ぬとこマジで見てんだけど、人黒すぎて最高だぜ。早く落ちてこねえかな。
I could hear voices around me saying those things. Could it be? A terrible thought ran through my mind. I looked up slowly to where the rest of the students were looking. At the edge of the roof was a girl. She was holding the D-sword, just like she had in her concert. She was standing there like she was offering a prayer to God in heaven. It was Ayase Kishimoto.
その体は邪神の影に潜む。目には映らない存在。
Ayase Kishimoto was feeling the wind on her body. It was cold, with just the slightest hint of winter. Her expression was pained, and beads of sweat were dripping down her cheeks.
離れようとも 離れようとも。冷めぬ悪夢は。
Suime Academy's roof was surrounded by an almost 2-meter high fence. She was standing in the narrow 30-centimeter space on the outside of it. She'd been here for almost 10 minutes. One more step, and she'd fall off the roof of a 4-story building. Below her was a crowd of students, watching with bated breath.
やがて剣となりて。この身を切り裂くのだろう。
They'd called for police and an ambulance, but perhaps because of the earthquake a few hours ago, no one had arrived yet. The teachers were running around trying to get mats ready if the worst happened.
無関心という名の盾で戦火を免れる人々。
But ISA stood tall and still, like the chaos below had nothing to do with her. If anything, it looked like she was deliberately cutting herself off from the world below. Her head was tilted up at the sky, and her eyes were closed. She looked almost like a young priestess praying to her god. Her body was completely motionless in the slight wind on the roof. An impressive feat of balance, considering the sword she was carrying was almost her own height.
神聖なる戦場の敵は心の内の悪意なるもの。
The sword, her D-sword, was flashing with a pale light, like it was having trouble breathing. ISA's own breaths seemed to be in sync with the light, and her own breathing was pained. She let out a small, soft whisper.
悪意は時として意志を持ち、そしてその姿を表す。
The words she whispered were quickly drowned out by the wind. ISA opened her eyes, turning toward the amber-red sky above the Shibuya high-rises.
この世界は悪意の妄想に満ち溢れている。みんな他人の不幸が大好き。目を閉じても耳を塞いでもダメ。昔からずっと私のそばを離れてくれないわ。
As she whispered, she brought the huge sword to her chest. She embraced it with both arms. Strangely, the sharp-looking blade didn't pierce her skin at all.
帰りたかった。大いなる意志が住むもう一つの世界に。そのために心を切り刻んで全部受け入れたわ。混沌の器としての夢を。
Ayase's expression twisted with sadness. Tears silently fell from her eyes. The wind blew them off her face and into the sky.
だけどグラジオールの帯同が活発化している。もう時間がないのに見つからない。見つからないのよ。天国の扉も賢者も
導き手も七つの神罰も、黒騎士の伝説は本当なの？歌はもうたくさん歌ったわ。それで足りないって言うなら、ね、大いなる意志よ。
Ayase slowly spread out her arms, as if she was trying to embrace the sky, as if showing herself to some god high in his heaven.
私は飛ぶわ。
The sword's pale pulsation grew in intensity. Ayase closed her eyes again. A final tear fell from the corner of her eye.
お願い、この器は差し出すから。魂を連れて行って。
And the girl stepped forward without the slightest hesitation. There was nothing left there to support her body.
帰るべき場所へ。
She felt the cold wind gently blow against her cheek. She looked down beneath her. And saw a floating door rising towards her. Beyond it was the sky she sought. All I could do was watch, helplessly. Ayase spread out her hands and slowly stepped off the roof, like there was an invisible staircase there. Screams and loud murmurs rose from the crowd of gawkers. No longer supported by anything, she fell like a puppet with its strings cut. Everything was happening in slow motion. Ayase's body fell. It fell so slowly, but there was no stopping it. She was going to die. Ayase was going to die. There was no way I could help her. If she fell from that height, she'd die for sure. The ground below her was solid concrete. Her bones would shatter. Her organs would be smashed. Her brains and dark red blood would be splashed all over the place. If there was at least a flower bed there, if there was soft earth instead of concrete, then maybe she'd survive. I didn't want to see anyone die. I tried to close my eyes, and then I felt it. The prickling at the back of my neck. I turned. Nobody was looking at me. Everyone was looking up towards Ayase or down at the ground. Whose eyes are those? I heard a noise. The sound of someone hitting the ground. I'd never heard that sound before. It was less loud than I thought it would be.
まさか。
Misumi was standing next to me, watching in shock. He was looking where Ayase had fallen, but instead of showing fear or sorrow, his expression was one of surprise. It wasn't just Misumi either. The whole crowd of gawking onlookers had fallen silent, like they weren't sure what had just happened.
生きてる。
Huh? Alive? Ayase was lying on the ground. Had her bones been shattered? I couldn't tell. Had her organs been smashed? I didn't know. Her brains weren't splattered all over the place. Her dark red blood wasn't anywhere to be seen either. A soft but clearly audible moan escaped her lips. She was alive. She had passed out and wasn't moving at all, but she didn't seem to be injured. The most I could see was a small trickle of blood on her forehead. She'd fallen all the way from the top of the roof. But now she was almost unharmed. She was lying on top of the flower bed.
花壇に。
Had there been a flower bed there?
予定と結果に大きな違いがあったようだが。
我々は進化への第一歩を踏み出したんですよ。
三桁もの死人が出るなど我々は聞いておらんぞ。
計画に不備があったのかね。
いいえ、お二人にはぜひ人の進化の歴史というものを振り返ってみていただきたいものですね。
進化には多少の犠牲はつきものという点については異論はない。
死人のことなどどうでもいい。重要なのは予定と違うということだ。
想定の範囲内ですよ、私の中ではね。
ならばなぜ事前に我々へ連絡せんのだ。情報をコントロールするにはそれなりの下準備が必要なのだぞ。貴様の推挙のために人や金を犠牲にしてきたわけではない。それを忘れるな。
Alright, dude. These guys are behind all this shit that's happening. I mean, that much seems pretty obvious at this point.
ご安心を。先ほど申しました通り、全ては想定の範囲内。いずれ近いうちに選挙での票集めに苦労することも、強引な勧誘活動を告発される恐れもなくなるでしょう。我々が日本を、いや世界を変える日もじきに。
口を慎め。300人委員会への造反が知れれば我らに待っているのは破滅だけだ。
Alright, Committee of 300, a mysterious secret organization.
君の役目は計画通りにことを進めることであって、それ以上でも以下でもないよ。
調整は我々がやる。
承知しています。
それで第二世代についての報告を聞こうか。
お二人にも満足していただける仕上がりですよ。ノア2はね。
Alright. I think this is a good place to stop for the night. Alright, well, I'll be back again tomorrow night, and I'll just do the God of War Ragnarok tomorrow night, and then we'll return to this Chaos Head Noah in a couple days. So, thanks for watching. Have a good night.